Hi everyone, it's Unique Tina here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this very beautiful tulip sleeve. So if this is what you really love to learn, guys, just stay tuned and let's dive in. So these are the materials I will be using for the tutorial. As you can see, this is the paper that I'll be using. You know how necessary it is to use paper first, and this is the Ankara that I'll be using. Yes, the Ankara will also be serving as the lining because I will not be using any lining fabric. I'll be using the Ankara as the main fabric and as the lining fabric. So this is the paper stair that I will be using for the lining part. Yes, the part of the Ankara that I'll be using for the lining, we'll use paper stair. Then on the main fabric we'll use the collar stair, which is this one that I'm showing you guys right now. We'll use the collar stair. I like using collar stair for my tulip sleeve. So we'll just dive into the business of the day. So I have to, this is me arranging my papers, so I have to fold it into two first of all, because we have to draft our basic sleeve first. And right here we are working with sleeve length of 9 inches and a round sleeve of 18 inches. Yes, 18 inches. I really don't like my tulip sleeve to be too long, but if you want the length to be longer than this, you can do more than this. And if you want the round sleeve to be smaller, you can also reduce it. But this is the perfect measurement I like working with. So I'll go ahead now to fold my paper into two, because we'll have to draft our basic sleeve first. So you fold your paper into two and make sure that your what you folded is up to your round sleeve and even more. If your round sleeve is 18, you fold it to about 20 inches. Then you go ahead now to measure the length of your sleeve. Like I told you, I'll be using 9 inches, but over here I'm using about 9.5 inches for the length because of the turning and the sewing allowance. So I'll be using 9 inches, so that's 9 inches right there. So now I'll go ahead now to draft my basic sleeve. If you know how to draft your sleeve very well, you know that this is the up part of the sleeve to the armhole level, so we can be able to achieve a very good curve for our basic sleeve. So this is it. This is me drafting it like this, and then from this point down to the upper part of that paper is 6 inches. Yes, if you know how to draft your basic sleeve very well, this shouldn't be strange to you. So this is 6 inches. Then at the upper part I'll measure about 2 inches where I can have my curve very well, just like as you see me do. You see how I'm curving it down, down. Yep. So I'll go ahead now to measure my round sleeve. Like I said, I'll be using a round sleeve of 18, but we're still going to be adding about 1 inch allowance just for our sewing allowance. And I'll connect it to my bicep, just like as you see me do. So like this, now my basic sleeve is ready. So I'll just go ahead to cut it off like this. So this is me cutting out my basic sleeve, and after cutting, this is what it looks like. As you can see, you see how beautiful. So I'll just go ahead now to notch the middle part of the sleeve, which is very, very important. Then now I'll take my tape and measure from the middle part down to 6 inches from the armhole part. You see the way I'm measuring it carefully. You measure about 6 inches. I like using 6 inches. So you measure about 6 inches and you mark that 6 inches point. Then you go ahead to open the paper. Then from that point where you mark 6 inches, you draw a line like this. You can actually use your curve ruler to do it, or you can do freehand, just like as I'm doing it like this. So you use your pencil or your chalk or whatever, or your marker, to draw a line just like this to have that curve. Yes, to have that curve. And mind you, this from this point to this other point, you see the way I'm pointing it, that point should be at least 1 inches for you to have a very good curve. Your line should cross that mid part of the sleeve by 1 inches, so the curve will be very, very fine and demure after sewing. So guys, after cutting it like this, we'll have to place it on another paper to cut it, because this sleeve, it's an overlap sleeve, so you definitely have to cut it twice. So I'll just go ahead now to place it on another paper, just like as you see me do. I will just place it on another paper like this and cut exactly the same thing that I have before. So now just go ahead to cut it. Mind you, this sleeve, on the main fabric, you have to cut it twice, then the lining will also be twice. So since I'm using the same fabric for both lining and the main sleeve, I'll be cutting 4 for each sleeve, 4 for the other sleeve. I hope you don't get me wrong. If you're using lining, the lining will be 2. If you're then the main fabric will be 2. But now that I'm using this same fabric as the lining for this tutorial, I'll be cutting it 4. So this is how it looks like after cutting it. You see the way it's looking very fine. And mind you, don't play with that midpoint. You see that center that you notched? It's very, very important. So I will go ahead now to trace it on my fabric and my lining, just like as you see me do. This is me ensuring that everything is equal. So I'll just go ahead to place it on my fabric and cut it. So after cutting it, I'll go ahead to notch the center part of the sleeve. This is really, really important. You see, the center part is very important. So after that, as you can see, I have 4 fabrics for 1 sleeve. You see, so I'll just go ahead and share it now. 2 for the lining, 2 for the main fabric. So I will just go ahead and cut 2 for the paper stair that will be serving as the lining. You see the way I'm arranging it, just 2 for the paper stair that will serve as the lining. So I will just go ahead now to cut this off. So after that, you do this hack to reduce much load on your machine while sewing it. You know, when sewing the puff sleeve, it's normally too thick for the machine to climb. So on that center part that you notch, just fold it, just like what you're seeing me do. Just fold it about 2 inches in. Then go ahead now to cut out the extra, just like this, and you will have something looking this way. As you can see, you see the part I'm printing. It will be very easy for you to print, but if you allow the stay, the collar stay, everything to get to that point, it will be difficult for you if your machine cannot climb a heavy stuff. But for me, I will not be cutting it off because I know I can sew it, but I did it on the lining part to show you. But if you know you're using something that is really, really thick, please do this both on the lining and on the main fabric. Just cut off 2 inches like this and you're good to go. So I'm done ironing the gum stay and the collar stay together. So we'll just go over to the sewing machine now to sew it. So right here, as you can see, I took my lining part and my main fabric part, right side facing each other. So as you can see, the center part I'm showing you, that's the upper part. So you sew the down side of the sleeve with 1/2 inch, just like what I am doing. So after running it down with 1/2 inch, you go ahead to repeat the same thing on the other sleeve. You sew it with the same 1/2 inch down to the other end. Ensure that the sleeves are opposite. Okay, so after that, you go ahead now to notch it, and after notching it, then you do a top stitch. You top stitch the lining part so it can relax very, very well. So you top stitch it, repeat it on the other sleeve, then you take it to your ironing table. After top stitching it, then you iron it properly so it comes out very, very neat and nice. You see the way mine is looking after ironing. So you go ahead to join them together. Make sure that those center points that you notched are matching together. So you sew from that end, from the, you see where I'm sewing it, from that end where the curve is starting to the other end where the curve of the other part of the sleeve is stopping. So you just sew it like that. You see the way I did it, and you will fold it into two and check if they are equal. This is optional anyway, but I like doing it. So you just fold it and see if they are actually equal, and make sure that no part is longer than any part. You can also go ahead to lay the second sleeve on it, that's the second sleeve of your dress on it, and check if there is any excesses. If there is any excess, just go ahead to trim it, and make sure that at the end of the day you have a very smooth surface at the up part of your sleeve, so that you can do a very nice pleat. So up here I like pleating about 5 printing, and I'll make sure that I don't print to cover the other parts. You know, on this sleeve it's an overlap, so try not to print and cross the parts where the other sleeve is lapping on the, you see the way I'm showing you. Yes, just make sure that you don't plait to cover that part. If not, you will not like the result. So just do well to plait, and once you get to that point, just about ½ inch, you just stop, and 5 prints is enough. From that center point, if you print one there, you print 2 forward and 2 backward, and you are good to go. That's a total of 5 prints. So you see how beautiful it is looking after printing. So you just go ahead now to repeat the same process on the other sleeve, and please make sure that the other sleeve is the opposite of this sleeve in terms of lapping it. Make sure that they are opposite each other. The sides that are lapping are opposite each other, so that at the end of the day the overlap part of this sleeve will be at the front of the blouse. Please take note of this. When lapping it, make sure that they are opposite, so that at the end of the day you have a very good result. So right here now, I'll just go over to measure my round sleeve again. You know, we're supposed to use a round sleeve of 18 inches, but I added a little sewing allowance. So now we are going to mark exactly our 18 inches, just like as you see me do. So I'll go ahead now to mark it. On the blouse, I have my armhole measurement, which is 20 divided by 2 is 10. So I'll go ahead to mark the armhole measurement on the sleeve, which is 10. I'll also mark that 10 inches. Then I'll connect it to my round sleeve measurement. As you can see, I will just draw a straight line and connect it to my armhole measurement. So after that, I will now cut off the excess allowance, leaving ½ inch for sewing. So now I will place the sleeve that I trimmed on the second sleeve to trim out every excesses. You have to place it so the measurements will be accurate and the two sleeves will be exactly the same size. So you place the trimmed sleeve on the other sleeve and ensure that you trim off every excesses just to make them equal and perfect. This is what it looks like after trimming it. So the next thing we'll do now is to close the round sleeve. So for you to close the round sleeve, you have to turn the sleeve so you'll be comfortable. Then you open it each side. You see the way it's looking. You open each side of the sleeve, just like what I'm doing. You open each side, then you place it. Make sure that the midpoints are meeting each other. You see that sharp point there. Make sure that they are meeting each other. Then you go ahead to use ½ inch to close it. Yes, you just run a straight line down, just like I'm showing you. You see how the line is going. I just followed the way it is. Then I'll now turn it. Then after that, you repeat same process on the other sleeve. You see how it's coming out very, very fine and neat. So you repeat the same process on the other sleeve. Then after that, you iron it properly, and then you fix it to the blouse. So over here, I'm about to fix it to my blouse. So I will just ensure that this my shoulder line, you see what I'm showing you, it's in line with the middle point of my sleeve. You see that center print before the other two, that center print, it's very important. Make sure that they are in line, and make sure that the part that is lapping on the sleeve is facing front, please, so you will not end up putting the overlap at the back part of your blouse. Please ensure that, and also measure it around the armhole to know if it is equal, so you not end up losing and adjusting. So I just finished checking all that, so I'll just go ahead now to fix it round my armhole. So I'm done fixing it around the armhole. This is what it looks like. So I'll go ahead now to repeat the same process on the other sleeve. After that, I'll take it to the mannequin to show you guys what it looks like, how pretty it looks. Voila! So you see what I mean? You see how beautiful this is? Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this lovely? So when I say the overlap side should be at the front, you see how it is? You see how this one too is facing front? So when you bead it and your designs, everything will be in place. You see it's well detailed. Isn't this beautiful, guys? So guys, thank you so much for watching. So if you watch to this extent, please do well to like, subscribe, and share, guys. Please comment. If there's any other part you want me to teach on this outfit, go ahead and drop it on the comment section. I will be right there. Thanks for watching. Bye.